Hi, everyone. This is our presentation for Care versus Empowerment. My name is Connie Amador, and I will be the approver for the care side.
And I'm Morgan Fisher, and I am the stater for the empowerment side.
I'm Melissa Mack, and I am the approver for the empowerment side.
I'm Desiree Palma, and I am the attacker for the care side.
I am Beatrice Perez, and I am the stater for the care side.
I am Janelle Perry, and I am the attacker on the empowerment side.
To begin, the care side is going to be discussing how universities and vocational institutes should focus on care because it has been linked to post-secondary employment. We will use peer-reviewed articles as well as visuals to get our point across.
The empowerment side will focus on teaching individuals skills such as decision-making and choices. Teaching these skills allows for self-determination and can give individuals a sense of independence. To get our point across, the empowerment side will be using visuals as well as compliance codes and peer-reviewed articles.
It is predicted that the number of students with disabilities pursuing post-secondary education will increase, which will also lead to an increase in post-secondary employment. Diamond, Meaden, and Pickens, in an article of 2017, found that the extent to which the students are ultimately successful in their pursuit of higher education will depend in large part upon whether appropriate supports and services are available. Looking, and in a 2006 article emphasized the need for sufficient support for students with disabilities to access secondary programs, as it would require their actual preparations in the environment they plan to enter after high school, such as employment experiences. This visual shows the types of questions asked during the study to gauge the kind of services available to each student from the parent's perspective and from the school's perspective as well. The types of questions they asked were geared toward finding a correlation between the services provided and a student's success.
There are interventions that can be used in order to increase engagement in employment services. There have been research conducted to compare how different interventions can predict future employment for individuals with disabilities, like vocational education, work studies, and school supervised community work. It was found that all of these led to competitive employment after graduation among individuals with disabilities.
Chimera and Cowan 2009 state, although the number of individuals with ASD obtaining vocational rehabilitation services has increased yearly, the rate of employment remains steady, meaning no increase or decrease in percentage. Even though these vocational empowerment programs initially focus on the independence of the individual, assistance is still sought out in order to do so. Lotan and Els 2010 state, for momentous and complex decisions, although some of us prefer to act primarily on our own, most of us tend to rely on some form of assistance.
Under Individuals and Disabilities Act, also known as IDEA, every individual with a disability needs to have an IEP. The process should start in high school, where the student can help in picking out what they want to do after high school with support and guidance. It could be added as part of their IEP and can be reviewed annually. The article Balancing the Right to Habilitation with the Right to Personal Liberties, the Rights of People with Developmental Disabilities to Eat Too Many Donuts and Take a Nap, written by Bannerman, Sheldon, Sherman, and Hardchick in 1990, discusses the benefits of having individuals with disabilities making their own uncoerced choices. The article explains that these individuals have the same basic rights as everyone else. This is evident by the Declaration of Rights of Mentally Retarded Persons in 1972, as well as Developmental Disabilities Assistance and Bill of Rights Act 1979. By having these individuals make choices, this will help them prepare them once they are in the community. The research has found that individuals frequently prefer situations in which they have choice, and that choice rarely proves detrimental to the individual and may in fact be beneficial. This is also supported by the Ethical Compliance Code 2.05, Rights and Prerogative of Clients. Behavioral analysts must support clients' legal rights as well as their prerogative.
Many will bring up the fact that the cost of caring for an individual with disabilities rise with age. But if the cost can be lowered, more individuals with disabilities can benefit from these services. Just because the cost is high does not mean we stop caring for the individual. The care side will touch upon cost-related issues discussed in peer-reviewed articles, as well as provide visuals.
Self-determination should begin to be taught to individuals in schools from a young age. Teaching these individuals self-determination is an important aspect to consider. By teaching them the self-determination, there is a higher likelihood of an increased sense of independence. On top of teaching this self-determination, other important skills that should be taught are decision-making skills as well as social skills.
A 2009 article written by Samara and Cohen, The Cost of Service and Employment Outcomes Achieved by Adults in Autism in the U.S., actually states how school-age children with autism are in need of services and life skills that would help prepare them for the transition into the workforce and or accept post-secondary education opportunities. Research actually suggests that there is not enough evidence or research about the services or range of services provided to adults with an autism spectrum disorder. This visual shows the cost of employing individuals with autism is expensive, but by examining these costs, research can help improve and or reduce these expenses while simultaneously improving the outcomes of said programs. If costs can be lowered, then more individuals with disabilities can benefit from these services.
There are interventions that can be utilized to increase self-determination in individuals with disabilities. Research shows that individuals with ASD have a lower level of social determination. This could indicate that individuals with ASD make fewer choices in their daily lives. Self-determination is a combination of skills, knowledge, and beliefs that enable an individual to engage in goal-directed, self-regulated, autonomous behavior, and is an important aspect of special education and related services for individuals with disabilities. Research has shown that the major intervention themes utilized are self-advocacy and choice-making. Self-determination is being taught using a variety of methods, such as instructional formats and large group instructions, and one-on-one behavioral interventions with systematic prompting and feedback as the skill is practiced and developed by the individual.
Although there are findings on interventions that increase self-determination, most findings on services and interventions focus on employment while promoting support and success in the workplace, school, individual independence, and social interactions for individuals with ASD.
There are individuals who have a disability who are aware of the term self-determination. They define this term as speaking out, making choices, being in control, and having control over the things that they want. The article, I'm Supposed to Be in Charge, Self-Advocates' Perspective on Self-Determination, Support Needs, written by Nonmaker and Bambara, 2011, states self-advocates provided specific examples of how support staff can facilitate their self-determination in non-controlling or informational ways during daily interactions. As suggested by many professionals, Promoting self-determination requires that supporters understand the target person's frame of reference and willingly follow the person's lead and interests. The study found that the relationship between the support staff and self-advocate was very important. If it was a positive relationship, there was an increase in the self-advocate's self-determination. This resulted in them making more choices for themselves. If there was a negative relationship, the self-advocate would avoid the support staff, even if it was at their own expense of not pursuing their interests or protecting their own personal welfare. As you can see in the demographic table, the support staff consisted of residential and employment staff. All the participants ranged in age from 24 to 56. All the individuals had some sort of work experience, and they lived in either semi-independent place, a group home, or they lived with a family member. The Compliance Codes 2.05, Rights and Prerogative of Clients, as well as Code 4.02, involving clients in planning and consent, support self-determination because it means that we, as behavior analysts, need to respect the wishes of the client. Behavioral analysts respect an individual's autonomy by changing behavior in such a way that the individual is able to deliver their own reinforcer instead of relying on someone else.
Lastly, the care side will discuss how individuals with disabilities can have an independent life, but will ultimately rely on some form of assistance from others to maintain their livelihood. The care side will discuss how even the most independent individuals need some form of guidance, either by proxy or communal assistance. We will use peer-reviewed articles as well as visuals to show our point of view.
You made a great point, Beatrice. However, it is important to also remember that individuals with disabilities have the right to make choices. Making these choices and decisions is a beneficial factor to consider for individuals with disabilities. Providing them with this choice allows for a sense of autonomy. If you are able to teach them and allow them choices, individuals may have an increased sense of independence as well as higher salaries.
Although promoting autonomy is important, we must also keep in mind that individuals with disabilities who cannot make decisions for themselves will often employ a proxy to make that decision for them. These proxies make medical, financial, and other decisions for that individual. According to Fisher, clients were included in the decision-making process demonstrating autonomy, although assistance was regularly required for 50% of the population to guide the decision-making process. They must face decisions they may have wide-reaching implications and ones that may be easily reversible after a certain process has been put into place. This visual from Fisher in 2009 shows how healthcare decisions are made by proxy. These proxies involve the individual with disability about 51% of the time, and 58% would report that the decisions are very aligned with what the individual would want. Proxies were involved with the decision-making ranging from everyday decisions to annual decisions.
Educators should teach individuals how to make responsible choices. By giving them responsibilities and allowing them to make choices as they are young, they are more likely to continue to make responsible choices as adults. Everyone has the right and ability to make choice to some level. Even a person with severe disabilities can choose what to eat for a snack or which chair is most comfortable. People should be allowed to exercise as much choice as their abilities allow, whether it involves expressing a simple preference or weighing the advantages and disadvantages of several options during complex decision-making. The ability of a client to exercise choice may prepare him or her to live in the community where individuals are expected to make decisions. Because most clients are striving towards a more normalized or typical lifestyle, learning to live as other community members do is an important goal for them. Individuals with disabilities who make independent choices and have services that empower individuals have been known to have higher paying salaries. Studies have repeatedly found that people with disabilities who exercise greater self-determination have greater independence, employment, and quality of life. People with disabilities who are encouraged and supported to make their own decisions are better employed and have higher salaries and are more independent.
Although our main goal as behavioral analysts is to have these individuals as functionally independent as possible, there are those individuals who are unable to make decisions for themselves due to a lack of ability and have proxies such as their caretakers and/or professionals team together in order to come to an agreement in benefit and best interest of the client to be able to live these typical lives as much as possible. Fisher 2009 also states that determining another person's best interests is difficult under the best of circumstances. But when that other person has chronic medical problems, limited communication, and little understanding of the rationale for a healthcare intervention, this task can be daunting. One way to cope with this uncertainty is to focus less on the outcome of decisions and more on the process. Procedural fairness in this context depends on input from physicians and balance of burdens and benefits, and participation of stakeholders.
With assistance, even the individuals who cannot live an independent life can still make decisions and choices. It is called supportive decision making. The UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities stated, respect for the freedom to make choices should be accorded to all persons with disabilities, no matter how much support they need. People with disabilities, including those with psychosocial or cognitive impairments, must be supported in making decisions and not have decisions made for them, even when it is thought to be in their best interests. The United States signed the treaty in 2009. Ethical Code 4.02 involving clients in planning and consent goes hand in hand with the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities statement. Behavioral analysts are required to involve the client in the planning and consent of their behavior change programs. This increases their autonomy.
In summary, individuals with disabilities need care from the minute they're diagnosed throughout the rest of their lives. Making sure our communities have the resources to help these individuals is imperative to their success as independent individuals of society. Ensuring that schools have appropriate programs in place to support and care for these individuals has been linked to post-secondary employment. The cost of these programs can be expensive, but will benefit the society in the long run. These programs promote an inclusive society that cares for those in need. Individuals with disabilities, no matter how autonomous, will always need care from some kind of program, whether it be government care or communal resources.
I can see your point of view. However, by teaching individuals to make responsible choices while they are younger, you are able to set them up to become more independent in their future. As the research has suggested, when individuals are taught to make a responsible choice, they are more likely to have a sense of independence within their future. With this also can come an increase of social skills as well as higher paying jobs. When you are able to teach these individuals responsible choices, you are also giving the individual a sense of empowerment. These skills that are taught may lead to jobs. When you're able to teach the responsible choices, you may have a higher quality of life as well as equal opportunities. It also looks like we have a few questions. Melissa, can you tell us how this topic touches on core ethical principles?
Yes, our presentation touches on the core ethical principles of do no harm, respect autonomy, benefiting others, being just, and treating others with care and compassion. So for Do No Harm, it does this by supporting the individuals to increase their quality of life, either by care or empowerment. For Respect Autonomy, it does this by increasing the individual's right to make choices and be more independent. For Benefiting Others, it does this by benefiting the clients. For Being Just, it does this by providing the same opportunities as others. And lastly, for Treating Others with Care and Compassion, it does this by the cost of caring for individuals with disabilities rises with age, but this cost does not mean that we stop caring for those individuals.
Great answer. Janelle, can you tell us what guidelines and codes of conduct relate to this specific topic?
Yes. Throughout the presentation, we referenced the BACB Professional and Ethical Compliance Codes for Behavioral Analysts.
Great, thank you. Desi, what research or current trends support each side of this discussion?
Peer-reviewed research articles were used to support each side of the argument throughout the debate.
Connie, could you tell us why this topic is important to the field of ABA and the interventions?
Well, clients will buy into the interventions if they choose it. This will be important to the field because it will test whether or not the interventions are effective and why they are effective. It will also improve the quality of life for our clients, which is why we are in this field in the first place.
Great, thanks, Connie. Beatrice, can you tell us how does consideration of this topic enhance practice and address the current issues?
When people begin to consider the topic of care versus empowerment, it helps open the dialogue that individuals with disability are capable of much more. They deserve the best quality of life available to them. When discussing this topic, having empathy and compassion for others help provide the best services. When discussing care, the dialogue helps develop better transition plans. Better care and better planning has been linked to post-secondary employment, which can lead to an empowered client. Whether you side with empowerment or care, they are both important conversations which ultimately improve client lives.
Great. Thanks for answering those questions, guys. That will wrap up our presentation. I hope you found this information helpful and informative.